I got something to prove. I gotta take what I hate and finally make a move. I think of you and all the shit you don't do.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another one of my videos. My name is Zach Pasquarello. I own a trucking business and I make videos explaining what I do, how to do it, and I try to help other people start a trucking business and grow their trucking business. In this video, I want to talk about maintenance because I don't know anything about maintenance, so I figured I'm the perfect person to talk about it. But seriously, I want to put it kind of in simple terms for people who are like me, who don't understand maintenance, just to help you understand it. The first thing I want to say, some people ask me, why don't I change the oil in my truck myself? And that's because I don't know how to do it, and I don't really want to know how to do it, and I would rather have a professional do it. I'd rather have someone experienced who knows what they're doing. That way, whenever they go in, they're not messing up anything. I can file my own taxes, but I cannot change my own oil. So if you are like me and you don't know how to do anything mechanically with your truck, don't worry about it. Focus on your strength. Really dial in on what you're good at. Don't try to learn other things and waste your time and mess things up. Focus on what you're good at and outsource everything else. So if you are a mechanic, you're great at changing your own oil, do that and then hire a bookkeeper to do your bookkeeping and taxes for you. If you are like me, a numbers guy, do your own bookkeeping and taxes and pay for a mechanic to change the oil in your car or truck. Okay, so doing maintenance on your truck. This is either a box truck or a semi truck. You're going to want to obviously get an oil change very often, especially with the number of miles we're putting on these trucks, going over the road, driving 500 miles a day, 600 miles a day. You're gonna wanna get an oil change probably every month, maybe every 2 months, depending on how many miles you're driving and the type of truck you have. If you have a box truck, every 8,000 miles, you should be getting an oil change. If you have a tractor, every 20,000 miles, you should be getting an oil change. And plan on spending about $500 on the oil change. One thing that I ran into issues while I was over the road, specifically for my International 4300 box truck, a lot of the truck stops did not have the fuel filter or the oil filter. So what I did is I just went to the International dealership and I got 5 oil filters and I got 5 fuel filters and I just kept them in the truck. That way, if you're over the road, if you're going to a mechanic who might not have the proper supplies to do your oil change, you've already got them and you'll actually be able to get them at a discounted price if you buy them directly from the dealership or the supplier. Along with your monthly or bi-monthly oil change, that's the perfect time just to have routine preventative maintenance done on your truck. So every time I send my truck in, it's usually once every 2 months. So every time I send my truck in, I obviously get an oil change, and then they also just do like a complete look over my truck. I also try to get my oil change done at home at the same mechanic every single time. That way I trust him and he starts to learn the truck. So if he sees something this time, maybe he'll make a note of it. In 2 months, when the truck comes back, I'll check it again. I don't like having a bunch of random mechanics working on my truck. I prefer to have as few mechanics as possible, so I just bring it back home for an oil change, for routine maintenance. I bring it back home to the mechanic I trust. That way he gets more comfortable working on my particular truck. Obviously, things happen and you're over the road and you might have to go to a truck stop or some other mechanic over the road, but generally speaking, I would always recommend try to bring your truck home for your oil change and your routine maintenance. Your battery might die if it gets really cold. This happened to me in South Dakota back in January with my box truck. I still don't know exactly why it happened, but it was like negative 10 degrees and my driver went to turn the truck on and just nothing. The battery was completely dead. I ended up spending, I think I had to get like 4 batteries. I ended up spending like $400 just on batteries. I've been told that you can plug in your truck and it helps warm up the wires and warm up the electrical wiring. I don't really know a whole lot about that. I've never actually had to plug in my truck before, but I do know like when it gets like negative temperatures outside, maybe you might have to plug your truck in. So if you've never looked into that, maybe get an extension cord and figure out how to plug your truck in when it gets really cold. But also with your battery, just make sure whenever you turn off your truck, make sure that nothing is pulling juice from that battery. Make sure there's no lights on, you don't have anything plugged in, because one little thing over a 34-hour reset, one little thing, one light left on or one cable plugged in continuing to pull juice might kill your batteries. And especially when we're over the road, if you're loaded over the weekend and you go to turn your truck on Monday morning to make a delivery and your batteries are dead, it's just never a good situation. So before you before you head out, especially when it's really cold, just double check your batteries and double check when you turn the truck off that nothing is pulling juice from your battery. I don't know why, but with my box truck, my windshield got cracked twice. I don't know. I've heard that if your driver is driving too closely behind the person in front of you, that their windshield is more likely to get cracked, maybe because like rocks flying off from the vehicles in front of you. If you're too close and the rock's just gonna hit directly on your windshield. But I had to get my windshield replaced twice. And if it's like the size of a quarter, you can patch it up. But any crack or chip larger than the size of a quarter, you're just gonna have to replace the entire windshield. And it cost me, I think, like $300 each time I replaced my windshield. So in order to avoid that from happening, I would just recommend try to leave proper distance between you and the person in front of you. That way, if rocks start coming at your truck, they're not hitting your windshield, I guess, and cracking it or denting it. But also, it's inevitable when you're driving for 50 hours every single week for an entire year, like things are gonna happen. You're gonna get cracks and dents in your windshield, but also don't let it go, because I'm pretty sure it's a DOT violation if you have a crack in your windshield. So don't just let it go, get it fixed, because also it might get worse. And so I've had one tire blowout, thank goodness. I haven't had any more, and it wasn't really that bad because I was really close to the truck stop. I think the tire was like $250 and then labor maybe like $100. So you're looking at like $300 to $500 for one tire, for a tire repair and blowout. And also it wasn't like one of the front tires, it was one of the back tires that are doubled up. So my driver was able to drive like 5 miles to get to the truck stop. But if he wasn't able to, I probably would have had to call roadside assistance, and I know that is pricey. I don't currently have roadside assistance. I've been driving for over a year now and I haven't really needed to have it. But it's definitely something I'm going to look into. I don't really know a whole lot about it, but I'm assuming it's like insurance. You pay a couple $100 a month and you get roadside assistance. So anytime you break down, it's probably just cheaper to have them come fix your truck. I don't know. I'm sure it would be great in case of emergency. Luckily, I haven't really had to use it, but maybe you want to look into it. Speaking of tires, the tire tread on your truck, per DOT compliance, it needs to be 3/32 of an inch. And every single day before you get in your truck, during your pre-trip inspection, I highly recommend you check your tire tread. And there's a trick with a penny. I don't know specifically which way you hold the penny, but like with Abraham Lincoln's hair, if you put it in the tread of your tire and it goes up to Abraham Lincoln's hair, then you know it's deep enough. And as soon as it doesn't hit his hair, it's not deep enough. I don't know, 3/32 of an inch is pretty small, but once your truck starts getting close to 3/32 of an inch, you're gonna have to get them replaced, because if you get pulled over for a DOT inspection and they inspect your tires and you're driving around with bald tires, not only is it extremely unsafe, but it's also against the rules and you're gonna get potentially put out of service. So just make sure that you're checking your tires on a regular basis and be prepared to, from what I've heard, you're gonna replace every single tire every single year. So I think tires, you can probably get a tire for $250 and then it goes all the way up to like $500 for a tire. So if you got a box truck, you got 6 tires. If you have a tandem axle tractor, you've got 10 tires, and not to mention the trailer. So tires are expensive. Just be prepared to replace every tire probably every single year. So anytime you need to get your truck towed, prepare to spend at least $300, if not $500 or $600, even if you're only going a few miles. So I got my box truck stuck in the mud on the side of the road. I literally just needed a tow truck to come and just pull it out of the mud, like 3 feet, like not a big deal, 3 feet, and they still charged me $400. And I had to get my box truck towed like 2 miles down the street, and the bill was like $600 or $700. So anytime you have to get your truck towed, be prepared to spend probably close to $500. Your Liftgate. So anytime, I would probably include checking your Liftgate in your pre-trip inspection. Like anytime you need to use your Liftgate, always inspect it before you go and pick up the load, before you get to the shipper, before you get to the receiver. Just double check to make sure your Liftgate works, because the last thing you want is to show up to pick up a load or to deliver a load and you go to use your Liftgate and all of a sudden it doesn't work. Those things are pretty finicky, especially with the wires, especially if you don't use it for like 2 or 3 months. The wires could be corroded or burnt or cut or torn. Just always double check your Liftgate. You don't have to do it every single day, but definitely if you know you're going to be using it that day, before you even arrive, before you even book that load, make sure you just double check your Liftgate and make sure it works. So this is specific to tractor trailers, but an APU is super helpful, and once again, like I said in the beginning of this video, I'm not a mechanic. I don't really know a whole lot about like mechanical issues or mechanical things, but I do know that an APU is really, really helpful. It does something with the battery and idling, so you don't have to idle the truck. It like preserves the battery power, or it's like a separate battery source, energy source. I don't know. But an APU for a tractor is really great for your 10-hour break or your 34-hour reset. That way you're not idling the truck a whole lot, and it's expensive. So if you're thinking about just installing an APU after you buy the truck, just think twice about that, because I think they cost like $10,000. So if you're gonna buy a truck, ask the dealership or ask the seller if it has an APU. Diesel exhaust fluid is very expensive. Not the fluid itself isn't so bad, but the system is very expensive. And if it goes wrong, then you're gonna have to get it fixed, and it's just really expensive. I've never had an issue with the DEF system in my truck, but I have heard that it's just a real pain in the butt to get it fixed. So just include that in your pre-trip, post-trip inspection. Like, make sure you're checking. Honestly, I don't know if you even can check it yourself, but just make sure your DEF system doesn't break on you. And if you go to the dealer, if you go to the mechanic and they tell you, hey, you know, this, you probably should replace this, I would just get it fixed, because you don't want to let some pipe go unfixed for too long and then all of a sudden it just breaks your whole DEF system and you got to get the whole thing replaced. I don't know how much it costs, but I've heard like maybe 10,000, maybe more. So just make sure you take care of that thing. I do know about a clutch, because mine in February, my clutch had to be replaced in my tractor. So that's one of the bad things about having a manual truck, is that your clutch will go out eventually. So I think at like 600,000 miles on my tractor, my clutch had to be replaced, and it cost $5,000. So it is inevitable. At some point in the life of the truck, the clutch is just gonna go out, just through normal wear and tear. So if you have a truck that's fairly new, you're probably gonna be safe for a long time. But if you have a truck that's over 500,000 miles, I would be prepared to replace the clutch in the next year, and be prepared to spend $5,000. The ERG cooler in my box truck last year in 2021 had to be fixed. I don't know anything about the ERG cooler. I don't even know what it does, but I do know that it costs like $1,000, maybe $1,500 to, I don't think they replaced my ERG cooler, but I know they fixed it, and that was a pretty pricey repair. And then the last thing I'll say is that the turbo is also a very expensive repair. I don't know anything about the turbo, but I've heard that maybe like $10,000 to replace or to fix the turbo. So if you ever have a turbo issue, it's very serious, and be prepared to spend a lot of money. With all that being said, it is impossible to prevent any and all maintenance issues, but what you can do is properly inspect your truck on a regular basis, listen to the mechanic, let them fix whatever they think they need to fix, and then just financially be prepared to spend money on repairs and maintenance. Like, you might go a whole month where nothing goes wrong and you're thinking, oh, this is great, now I have this extra $2,000 to spend, but just seriously save that money, budget that money, plan on spending. I budget like 10 to 20 cents per mile for repairs and maintenance. So if your truck is brand new, you could probably get away with 10 cents per mile. If your truck is really old, probably closer to 20 cents per mile. But seriously, budget and plan to spend that money, because I promise you at some point in the life of the truck, you will end up spending that money. And knowing how much I spent on maintenance, I would always recommend get as new and good of a truck as you possibly can. In the very beginning, don't try to cut corners and save money and get that $10,000 beater truck from 2006, because you're gonna spend a lot of money in maintenance. So you're seriously so much better off just get a newer truck. I'm not saying get a brand new truck, but get a newer truck, invest in the truck. That way you're not spending money out of pocket down the road to fix the truck. And then lastly, not only are you spending money to fix the truck, but you're also losing time where you can't drive because your truck breaks down. So you're out for a whole week, so you're not making money, but then you're also spending money to get the truck fixed. So it's a double whammy. So that's why, if I can go back in time, if I could tell you to do anything, just like get a new-ish truck. I don't know much about warranties. I've heard a lot of warranties are completely worthless. If you are gonna get a warranty, just really make sure you do your due diligence and like read the fine print of the warranty, because I know they exclude a lot of things, like a lot of the things that you actually want the warranty for are not included, because these warranty companies, they make money somehow. So just remember that whenever you're paying thousands of dollars for this warranty that seems way too good to be true, because it probably is.